Hey chat, how we doing today? We've certainly got a busy one today, that's for sure. So we're going to be working on the main landmark of the map being the tower. And I've made an adjustment or two to it before stream, and by that I mean one adjustment that's just making it slightly bigger. And I do have an idea for that, but I'll explain more once I'm ready to start properly. I think, yeah, okay. So I got everything done there. Alright. So, this thing. Now I've made this bigger than it was before. I do need to probably check the scaling and proportions of this, because this is slightly different than what everyone is expecting. Also, I've gotten a bunch more reference images here while I'm at it. So this is the thing I'm going to be replicating, the Sky Tower in Auckland. Now, a couple of things that I have noticed about this, just picking up images prior to the stream. There is no building base to this, it's literally just this as the building. So what the Sky Tower is essentially all of this here is an elevator. And when you get to the top, it's a giant glass observatory. I can actually just pull up an image here, but the only reason I don't have it is because it's not relevant to what I'm doing. So this is the Sky Tower Observatory. So you've got your glass and you can look out. Fun fact, you can actually bungee jump off this thing. I personally wouldn't, but you can, and I think you can do base jumping as well, but I'm not certain on that fact. At the very minimum, I know you can bungee jump off this thing. But that's beside the point. So, I've taken a couple of notes here, and by taking a couple of notes, I mean like I've noticed some things. So first of all, the actual base of this thing is actually massive, right? So it's circular in nature, and absolutely need to put jiggle physics on it. No, the tower will collapse if I put jiggle physics on that thing, likely. Like, come on. You of all people should know a thing or two about structural engineering, surely. Like, I know buildings have a bit of leeway when it comes to wiggle, especially buildings this tall that get hit by high winds a lot. But there's a difference between movement for the sake of structural stability and jiggle physics. Alright? So, a couple things I've noticed. For the most part, this building is concrete. And it's layered concrete at that. It's like... There's really poor quality images. And, yeah, I'm going to have to do the windows. I think the windows only appear on one side of the building, because, like, I'm looking back here and there's no windows there. I think yeah, there's, like, only 3 windows and it goes out the quote-unquote front of the building. I'm going to do this a bit differently. I'm going to have windows on all sides. Just the same panel design here. Now, there's concrete beams at the bottom with a larger concrete round here in between. I can probably do these bits here with curves. And then I need to adjust the proportions of this because it curves slightly inwards before getting to the top. Probably best seen around about here. So it curves slightly inwards before base equals massive round. Yeah. Hey Foxy, how you doing? So it curves slightly inwards, and something else that's rather interesting is that the outside of the actual observatory area, so from this section up, is actually tile and not concrete. So there's a lot of tiles here, but that's pretty easily done, I think. I can probably even do this with procedural if I tried hard enough. Now, the reason why I made the tower larger in size than what I had previously could be better. I'm alive, so that's something, right? Yeah, I feel that on a spiritual level. So, the reason I made this bigger is what would be a cool mission is, like, say during an operation, right? Because this usually happens during operations. The entire top could be blasted off, and this entire section here could become an arena. Curves inwards, smooth. Yeah. It's not noticeable from the outset here. Like, you look at this and it's not really noticeable. But it does become slightly more noticeable when you're looking at the tower here. And I know a lot of it's probably going to be perspective and the fact that these fins are a thing that exists, but there's just like the slightest curve. I could exaggerate that for the sake of artistic stylization. So we're looking at probably 8 of these quote-unquote prongs. I had a slightly rough weekend, but also fun. Yeah, you've told me about having issues with the air mattress when you went to visit the house. I know that was a huge issue for you. But yeah, like, you look at the size of the person compared to the actual tower, like, the thing is massive. Curve is more noticeable up close. Yeah, it is more noticeable up close. In fact, yeah, okay, so I think, and this might just be me tweaking out slightly, I think these two here, so this section here, are actually slightly bigger than this top section here. Which I think, correct me if I'm wrong, likely, wouldn't that make the most sense structurally, because you would have to have a larger base to support the rest of the weight of the building? Yeah, that was a pain, but I got it figured out with the topper. Okay, so the topper did work. Good to know. And then this section here is all glass. Yeah, I'm probably going to have to put that in if I'm going to be making this an observatory of any kind. Alright, so, first thing I need to do I want to knock out this building part here? Because the idea, I was too busy looking for innuendos. What was that? Why were you busy looking for innuendos? Okay, so, like, I said that I was tweaking out about this bottom section here and this middle section here being thicker than this section. Would that make structural sense to have these be larger at the base to support the weight of the building? Or would these pillars on the outside be sufficient to do so? It works so well, in fact, that I decided to get one for my current bed since I don't intend on buying a new bed anytime soon. Honestly, understandable. Beds are really expensive. I was, like, thinking about looking for one the other day, and then I realized they're, like, a couple grand here for a decent one, so I was just like, why would I even bother? I might just get rid of this. Just grab this slot here and drag it down. I'm going to make this entirely circular, I think. They make the mattress so much more comfortable to lay on. Yeah, I imagine they would. Bigger base equals lower center of gravity. Yeah, and with something that's, I believe, what was it, like 300 feet tall or something like that? Just double check the height measurements on this. Sky Tower height. It is 1,076 feet tall, 328 meters. So yeah, it probably makes sense for it to have a larger base for a lower center of gravity. Especially considering that Auckland is quite literally in a harbour area. Like, it's called, the, like, nearby area is called the Auckland Harbour. So there would probably be a lot of wind coming across the water, so yeah, I think probably beams go deep as fuck into the ground and price can play a factor. Yeah, considering it's a major landmark in that city, like, I'm going to assume that price is not an object here. Shift S and cursor to selected. So we're gonna start out with some curves first. So grab out a Bezier. I'm gonna make it like 10 meters, just so I can see what I'm doing. Now, grab this and this, and then we go into isolation. And now the thing we want to edit is this. Oh. Grab that down. Rotate this. Now what I can do is add a, I believe it's skin for this one. Oh wait, no, I have to, is it screw? No, solidify. No, it's not solidify, never mind. I know there's a way to create a... what is essentially just a physical object here. Just trying to remember, it's not curve, shrink wrap, no, it's not deform. Build, array, build, decimate. I'm pretty sure it's not remesh. Okay, looks like it might be screw here. Alright. Yeah, this is not working out the way that I intended it to. So what I can do is go into here for just a moment and I can just spot that a bit better. So, rotate that around. Now I'm just looking at this here. Now it's a cylindrical part. Like these, okay, I really don't want to use that word because I know likely it's just gonna take it out of context, but it's flared out at the base. So obviously, like, there's a lot more area probably to keep the base stable, I imagine. But anyway, was mostly talking about the event when mentioning the slightly rough part. It was decently fun, don't get me wrong, but just boyfriend had different plans with the event than I did, which led to a slight disagreement and me getting a tad upset with him. Yeah, I mean, disagreements in relationships is a normal thing, though. Yep, I called it. Like, I knew for the second that word popped in my mind, I was just like, yeah, likely it's just gonna take it and run with it. So I might as well just full send it at this point. So if it's like that at the base, then the tower itself must not increase in size of the base either. Unless it's like very minimal, but that seems unlikely. What I probably need to do is make some extrusions around the bottom just to have a better idea of where these columns are going to go. Alright. So what I can do, instead of modeling this entire thing, I'm actually going to auto. So... what's the name of the building? This one in specificular? I'm going to assume you mean specific. It's called the Sky Tower. It's based in Auckland, New Zealand. Okay, so... auto to -y, and then auto to +x. So now when I go into edit mode, I only have to edit a quarter of this thing. So it's nigh impossible to get the full tower in an image because you're either, like, you can't get a straight on image of this tower because you're either looking upwards at it or it's from a distance and it's straight up and down. So I'm gonna have to take my best swing at this. I'm probably going to say a third of the way up for the first one and then near the base of the second one. Literally all he wanted to do was raise while I wanted to keep trying to get my hands on as many shinies as possible and as many regionals and literally extremely rare Pokemon as I could. Yeah, I mean, like, having different goals is not necessarily a bad thing. Oh, whoops, I accidentally locked my canvas. So I'm going to say around about here. And bevel that. And I'm going to... yeah, that looks to be about half. And then the first one and the second one... oh, this is interesting, actually. In the end, I got 40 shinies total. That's a pretty considerable amount of shinies, to be fair. So these look to be... I thought for a second there they were angled, but no, this is straight up and down. One of them being a newly released Frigibax shiny. Okay, this is a hot take. I don't like the Frigibax Excalibur line. I don't know why, I just don't like them. So there is a slope at the top here. And it's flat down the bottom. I don't think that's the same case for this one, is it? No, it doesn't look like it. Because if it was angled the same, you'd definitely be able to see it. They're a bit goofy, I will say. Yeah, I don't know. The Scarlet Violet Mons don't really do much for me. Like, I'm not going to point out that it's literally just a flamingo, but, like, I wouldn't say they're uninspired, they're just not my taste. So, extrude this out. And then this one here, I can actually just edge slide this up. And that gives me... Oh, okay, yeah, that is going to be a problem, actually. So maybe Alt? Okay, no. So extrude, and I need to Alt-S this, I think. Yeah. I didn't send you a little vid of the shinies I got. I screen recorded. Of course you did. And then, yeah, edge slide that up. Yeah, for whatever reason, whenever you're in edit mode, well, if you're in mirror mode specifically, the scaling along the cardinal axis where it's split doesn't work correctly. And you have to do them individually normally, but shrink and fit, like fatten works properly. So there is one saving grace there at least. So grab this. And edit that. So I want this to be rotated this way maybe? And then I need to grab this and... Oh, chat. Oh, I forgot to tell everyone, right? So, Twitch has been messing me around a little bit, right? So, as everyone can see currently, most likely, I have 50 followers on Twitch, right? Now, normally, when you do that, Twitch will give you the ability to use VIP badges. And I do want to use those, because I feel like it'd be a good way to just acknowledge people in the community. However, Twitch, apparently, according to Twitch, I only have 49 followers. So I guess at some point I must have gotten a fake follower or something. I don't know how that would happen. But, yeah, Twitch is basically gatekeeping me from using VIP at the moment, so that's a bit rough. Okay, like, I swear there's a... Okay, that's not even straight this way. So yeah, Twitch has not been kind to me at the moment. I swear there was like a way to basically just create a skin for this, but I guess I'm just gonna have to take my best swing at it for the time being. So it sort of cuts through here and then it's like really close to the building by this time, so maybe just move that up a bit. So that would probably be roughly about it. The thing does cut through the bottom slightly. Center, nice. But yeah, Twitch is basically bullying me. It's just like, you need 51 followers in order to be able to use VIP badges. And I'm just like, oh, okay. This is like the points thing all over again. Now, I actually want to add in an empty, I think. I'm going to use a... probably plain axis for this one. So now, if I use this as the parent object, maybe? If it will let me. Okay, so I just need to find these items. And just put this in the scene collection, as well as this thing. So I've got the... Wait, how is that still in collection? I want that in scene collection. Okay, so I need the empty and the Bezier. I need to parent this to the empty. So parent that to the empty, and then this one here, I think I need to array this one. And then I need to set it to object offset empty. And then probably turn off relative offset. Maybe I'm doing this wrong. But that is fine. So I want 8 of these. And then constant offset's not helpful here, I don't believe. So if I rotate this... Okay, maybe I need to unparent this, maybe? Parent, clear parent, keep transformation. So if I find it crazy how many shiny unknown I got. That's pretty impressive. Okay, so that does almost work. The problem is that it's not going the way that I'd want it to. So unless I... It's also rotating the actual object itself. I'm not too fond of that idea. I know there's a really easy way of doing this, but it's not really doing me any favors. So... Clear parent. Transformation. And if I use the object offset by itself, but I move... What if I move the object to selection to cursor? Why is this off-centered? Set origin to geometry. And then I set the selection to cursor. Okay. So if I rotate the empty... Okay, so rotating around the Z works. So if I create a constant offset, make this 8. This gets a little bit too messy. I wonder, okay, what if I'm not supposed to be arraying the Bezier? What if I'm supposed to be arraying the empty? Well, no, because, like, I can't array an empty. That's silly. That is absolutely silly. So, get rid of the relative offset. Okay, so Bezier. Let's say 0.3 meters. So that no longer does anything. So, is it because of the object offsets work. Oh, it's because it's not parented to the object. I'm dumb. You know what? Screw it, because the empty is really just not working out here for me. I wonder if I can fit this to a curve object. Could do. I could probably turn one of the edges into a curve. So if I shift D, move that up slightly. Oh, I forgot to P and selection. So apply the mirrors and then convert this to a curve. And then I can grab these and set up the curve modifier. I think this needs to be above array. So that should be curved now. And then using the object offset of... Actually, it's called cylinder 5. Cylinder 5. There we go. So keep that maybe relative offset. Just need to figure out which one of these works. So I don't want them to just deform like that. That seems a bit silly. Oh wait, I forgot to set to fit curve. I'm silly. So X. Turn off object offset. Now it's just time to figure out which one it wants to work with. Oh wait, I forgot to... There we go. If I don't talk, it's because I'm doing things, so fair enough. I don't expect you to do everything for my sake. So, if I set the constant offset, it just gets smaller. Okay. Okay, so now I just want this to fit around the outside. Is that too much to ask? Unless I have to... Okay, I had to fit it around the other way. That makes sense. And then I want a fixed count of 8. I want to set the offset to be... Yeah, that seems about correct. DA things? Oh yeah, Dragon Adventures, of course. Who am I to deprive you of that joy? Okay, so now... I want to move this. So I need to hide these two. Just a moment. So I want the... Okay, so that should be in the correct position now. Just need to move that a bit closer. Alright, now that should be good. If I bring these back... Okay, so it's fitting to this curve here. So if I drag this down... It should have fit. But for some reason, they don't want to move. Why is that? Okay, the array's not working as intended. Okay, it's because of the array, apparently. So why would it... do this? Why would the array not work? Is it because of the fact that it's there? No, because it changes position. So curve is definitely below array, but for whatever reason, the entire object is not moving downwards correctly. Linus has been avoiding my bed now because of it. Whenever... Oh, by the way, since I was talking to you about the mattress topper, I gotta tell you something funny. Linus is avoiding my bed now because of it. Whenever he jumps up there and feels it under his feet, he does that thing that cats do when you put boots on them. Oh, when they do like the foot wiggle thing? Yeah. Why would he be doing that? Did he really hate it that much? Weird cat. I wonder if relative offset would be. Actually, I can do that, but it just curves around upwards. He really did? That's funny. Oh, silly Linus. Okay, so I guess for whatever reason it decides it wants to go upwards. Okay, so rotating this in the Z does stuff. I want all these to be facing inwards. Why are they facing outwards? Oh, it might be because of the deform. I wonder if doing in the negative X... Whoa. Well, it certainly does something, but not the thing I'm looking for. That's kind of cool. Okay, so... doing object offset's not going to help me here. Okay, relative offset is not helpful either. So, fixed count is fine, but for whatever reason, these individually just don't want to do what I ask of them. I suppose a curved... Oh boy, Shadow is in here. I wonder how he reacts to the feel of it. I mean, you can test. What kind of mattress topper is it for the cats to be reacting like that? I want to try something, yeah. So, like, say I turn this into a mesh, right? And then I generate a skin on this. Okay, it's doing something weird, that's for sure. Like a type of foam? Oh, okay. Strange. Wonder why Shadow would react in such a way. Okay, screw's not the way to do this. Solidify, subdiv. It's not remesh, I know that much at least. Yeah, because even if I increase the voxel size, it's not going to work. I suppose it only really works if I'm using a line and vertex setup instead of a curve. But now I have to question why it's doing this, because all these should be rotated inwards. Even if I, like, modeled this issue out, it's not really going to do me any favors. Okay, there is another option. I didn't particularly want to do it like this, but I guess I really have no other choice. So if I mirror along the actual tower itself, so I can get rid of this thing. It's silly. Oh. And then I mirror along the... Okay, so... X-axis... One would think I'd be able to work along the Y. Actually, this is going to be a bit strange. I'm going to set the origin point of this thing to be the origin to 3D cursor. So I can actually get rid of this main object, and then I can just probably mirror it along the Y? No. Okay, done. I thought that was going to work. Never mind. This is not the way that I prefer to do it, but that's fine. So I'm going to Alt-D, Z, and then... $45. So now we've got these ones. Actually, just Alt-D this without the Y-axis. Why is that? Oh, because that becomes the thing there. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so these ones here. What if I... Okay, yeah, the Z's not going to work here. That's really annoying. Alright. Okay, so it's not going to work like that either. So, instead of mirroring it, what if I just straight up duplicated it? Shift D. Or actually just RZ and then... Oh, I can just, grab this. There we go. So now if we grab these two, we can actually just... I'm pretty sure I can just Control J. Yeah, okay, that works. So... Alt D. And then grab these two. So now all of these should be doing the same thing. Gosh, I can't believe it's taken me so long to get this to work properly. And now that I've done this, hopefully... Yeah, I can just move that around, I think. So if I convert this to a mesh, I should be able to just... Where is it? Skin. I don't know why this side refuses to skin. It's so strange. Also, I'm curious as to why this is only cubic and not rounded, because usually it's very round. What is it? Shift Alt, yes? Yeah. Actually, no, it's not. Okay, what is the shortcut for this? It is... Is it Alt S for this? No, it's not. It's just shrink and fatten. I know there's a way to scale these. Extrude, loop tools, that doesn't help me here. Slide vertices, shear. Rotation. Vertex crease. There's like a, Alright, just quickly switch this up. Scale. Skin modifier. There we go. And Control A. Okay. Goodness knows why it's Control A, but here we are, I guess. I'm trying to figure out why it's cubic. Like, that thing should not be a cube. The only reason it looks like that is because I did that. If I remove smooth shading, that thing is definitely a brick. Even if I subdiv this, it's not going to really work. Actually, it might do. Yeah, try something though. Okay, why is this? Oh, it's because it's, skin. Why? Grab all these and subdiv. What I can do is I can grab everything that isn't the top and bottom. So, grab all of this. Now, I believe loop tools would give me the ability to make this into something else. Curve, maybe? Oh, okay, Blender does not like that one. Chat, I think I broke it. I mean, to be fair, it's not a Blender stream if something doesn't break every so often. Really, all that to do sweet fuck all? Bruh. Okay, first of all, get rid of that, because that's probably half my problem. And circle, maybe? Okay, so the top works, and so does the bottom. But this stuff here doesn't necessarily work. So if I curve this now, it might work. I guess Blender just needs a second to calculate what the hell it is I just asked for. And yet, it doesn't work. Why is that? Wrong type, maybe? Either that or it just really fucking hates using the curve function. Okay, we're just going to abort that. Okay, so that doesn't work. Curves seems to get really salty over the idea of me trying to do it like this. So what other options do I have? I could go for a cylinder and try to... Okay. Okay, I could give that a try. Just temporarily. So, get myself a cylinder. Make this... I probably want to say 12 verts. Hello? 12... number lock was broken. 12 vertices. And grab this. Be around about here. And now... I'm going to grab the top. Move it up to where I want it to be. Which would be roughly, yeah, around about there. Now I want to remove all of these. So now I'm left with this. And then I want to bridge edge loops. So I've got that going. And now, I believe, where is it? There's probably some setting here that I can use to... Okay, just redo this. Bridge edge loops, say probably about 5 cuts. Set that back to 0.5. And then... Okay, so twist does nothing for me here. Profile factor. Okay, profile factor doesn't help me. Unless it's, the bevel command I'm thinking about. Okay, so smoothness does seem to play a part here. Certainly does get really kinked up if I'm not doing that. Actually, I'm stupid. There is one option I have. I suppose I don't really think of it because it's not normally something I think about. So maybe sphere would be the best way to go about doing this. So if I need to change this too. So if I do this, because like the problem is I do want this to be slanted a bit. Maybe inverse square might be a better pick for this one. Unless I use this higher up one. It's probably around about here, maybe? It's like, the idea is obviously I'm trying to get this to be moved in somewhat to the building. Also, I'm just going to remove that. So if I grab this index, move that out. Okay, that doesn't look too bad, I don't think. So now if I make copies of this, I should be able to just move these into position. So I probably want to move this. To be slightly closer. Do I want to make this bigger at all? Like, obviously I want to actually form into the tower. But then this one here, we just want this to be moved out just slightly. Yeah, that's probably roughly about what it is. So if I switch this back to 3D cursor, Alt D, R, Z, 180, and then just start doing that. D, R, Z, and 45. Get rid of the Beziers, because those things were absolutely useless. So yeah, I think that's relatively close to what I was aiming for. I mean, it's not a perfect solution by any means, but it's certainly better than trying to faff about with curves. So as long as I just... Oh, right, of course. Medium point. Alright, cool. Finally got that working. Like, good lord, that took me a while. And now... Probably the next thing to do would be to create windows and the tower, like the rings going around the tower. Let's see what we got here. 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, and 24. 27, 28, 29. Okay, so there's 29 of these rings. Just for this section here alone. So I'm probably gonna, for the sake of this, I'm probably gonna half that. So, obviously we can't have half of 29 directly. But for the sake of this, we'll go 28, say we need 14 cards. And then Control B and E, Alt S. Need to remove that. Control B. And then E. Alt S. And boink. They never learn. They have a block list like 50 miles long if I ever get popular. Okay, I'm gonna scale these in the Z. Just do the individuals. Just a little bit smaller. There we go. And then the actual outside of this is about 1, 2, 3, probably 4 cuts here. 4 seems reasonable. And then the bottom actually doesn't have very much in the way of cuts at all. It's like really large. And it's actually just 3. But shockingly, all of these actually have the same gaps, so certainly not complaining. I can just grab all of these. People that I'm probably gonna give it like the gaps on these are probably quite reasonably large, so I'll probably say 0.15 E and then Alt S. I'll probably say 0.15 here. Because I mean, like, obviously it's still going to be a bit cartoonish, but not overly so. Okay, so we're good here. Now we need to do something about these windows. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 windows for the elevator itself. But they span 1.5 of these. Which is a really stupidly specific number, and I don't ascribe to that whatsoever. But thankfully, this makes it easy because the windows themselves are actually between the gaps of these pillars here. So for the sake of just making my life slightly easier, I'm going to do every other one here. Just to make sure that things go a bit smoother. So I think that's probably acceptable, right? Yeah. There's like a 2-window gap in between each of these, so I am correct in this case. And then extrude these inwards. Or do I need to make these before beveling? That should be fine. I can just delete the faces afterwards. So, Alt-E and along manifold. Okay, yeah, that works slightly better. So I'm going to make these relatively deep in. And yeah, extruding along the manifold actually did fix that weird thing going on there. But the problem is, now the inside edges here, like these seams right here, are actually kind of split open, and that's not really what I wanted. Hmm. But even if I extruded the manifold and then Alt-S these, like, they're not really gonna do much. Like, they sort of just overlap each other regardless of what I do. So, what's my best option here? Probably grab... I need to make cuts along each of these and then try to fix it like that. But the problem is, of course, now that they're N-gons, they're not going to work as well. So maybe doing these before I bevel stuff is probably gonna be in my better interest here. Man, Shadow didn't even try to get on the bed. She decided to sleep on the floor instead. I mean, like, fair enough, I guess. Maybe Shadow just doesn't want any part of your shenanigans. Shadow heard about the mattress topper, is just like, nah, fam, I'm not dealing with that noise. So, grab all these and try to extrude them inwards. So, Alt-E and then extrude manifold. One needs to be fairly deep in. Let's say probably 0.5 is excessive. Maybe 0.4. Because I mean, like, they're windows, but they're not that recessed, I don't think. So now I've got to get all of these going. That, and should be able to just... Oh yeah, I need to bevel these ones as well, don't I? At least I can just do that this time around. So now, if I bevel these... Oh, okay, yeah, that makes a fucking mess is what that does. How did this happen? Anyway. It's because it's individual origins and not medium point. It is not, it's just that janky. Alright. So, if it's not going to be kind to me, and it stands to reason I probably just need to... Okay. I think I can see what I need to do here. So this is probably the point where I have to deviate slightly and I need to create a separate object. So this is going to be hidden for the time being. So I'm just going to call this tower. And then this one as well. We're going to call this tower high poly. We're going to hide this one for the time being. So for the regular tower, we're just going to do windows. And I'm going to inset the other bits for the low poly tower, I think. Ow. Accidentally cut my finger earlier today. And it's still a bit sore. And I accidentally scratched off a bit of scab. Well, I say scratched off. I rubbed off a bit of scab. Alright, now E manifold and then 0.4. Actually, I can just Alt S and then 0.4. That's probably part of the reason why it messed up was because of that. Can I bevel this now that I've... Okay, no, I definitely cannot. Because it just messes all this stuff up. I didn't really want to do that. Unless... No, because if I bevel that, that's just going to make matters worse. That is fine, though. So we got the windows going here. I'm actually going to just quickly go out of my way to auto-smooth this. Just to make it look slightly nicer to work on. So we've got the windows. We can do these indents later. Also, I just realized there's actually indents on the outside too. Not that one though. That one's... Is that glass? Why would there be glass there? Oh well, no matter. So the next bit I need to figure out is the fins here. So that's probably going to be a physical object that needs to be created. Or I can probably just get away with extruding this out, maybe? Because I'm just looking at these are in the same positions as the bottom here, so and beef a boundary here. Extrude this out. It's probably grab that, but then like that doesn't really work out too well because I do need to take. Actually, it probably will work just fine now that I think about it. So I need to inset these two here. Now the problem is actually this one here, because I can't exactly just do that. So I am going to do the same thing I did here and just... oh, actually what I can do, and this is going to be a slightly unorthodox way of doing this, I'm actually going to add an object to this cylinder here. So here we go. So I can actually use these as a way to create said fins. Now before I make these, I just want to double check to make sure that this is created in a way that I prefer it to be. Actually, is the scale of this section here, so this bottom section here, is this too large? I can scale it in a bit. Yeah, I think maybe, yeah, making that slightly smaller does fit the form of the object itself a bit better. Yeah, that works. Because after all, my goal for this isn't to just create a clone of this object. My goal is to make something that's pretty easily usable for a map. And then this one here. So drag this out towards there. And now, what is the sizing of these fins? Because they don't go all the way down, obviously. It goes down... Oh, actually, these are in the wrong position. These aren't supposed to be on the tower, but I will make a duplicate of these because... like, there is some type of finnage at the base of that observatory, but it's not quite there, you know? So maybe I do want this to be slightly larger, actually. So Alt-S. Like, really fatten this out a bit. Because I can probably fit, like, another type of observatory at the bottom here. Which is not a bad idea. After all, variety is the spice of life. Right now, I need to just go into edge mode here. And snap this to the other edge. And then roughly around back here. Yeah. So now if I fit that looks good. I can do that. There we go. And now that sort of works. Actually, the fins are entirely straight. Now that I look at this slightly closer. Because, like, I put a curve there, but these are completely straight. And they're also a lot thinner than this. Actually, I'm just going to keep that undocked, I think. Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna Control X that. I'm actually just gonna add a loop cut in here because I do want to keep this quads if at all possible. But I am going to grab these two sides. Make sure it's at medium point. I'm just gonna squeeze these. Bit thinner, yeah, probably around about there. I know they're a lot thinner on the actual tower, but that's whatever. In fact, I could probably even add a little bit more interest to this by just squeezing these outer ones here without doing anything to the back end. Likely he's having a field day with everything I'm saying today. Alright, so that's roughly good. Oh, interesting. Actually, the fins up here, like these ones here, there's actually double the amount that there is down here. So, I don't know what to make of that. Why are you waving the Canadian flag? Like, huh? So, the fins for this one are actually quite small. Like, they're surprisingly small, actually. Trying to figure out... Okay, so the actual observatory itself, like the main part that you would step into normally on this tower, is 2 tiers. And I think this is just supporting the bottom one. I'm not sure what the hell's supporting the top, though. So that's the first set of fins. This is the second set of fins I'm looking at. And then there's this part up here. Yeah, I'm just gonna probably keep this at 8. Because that just makes my life slightly easier. But I will probably take some creative liberties with this one, I think. Why? Oh, it's because that's still selected. So I'll make it roughly around there. And then face. I am probably gonna... Also, that kind of looks cool. How come this is on an edge and not a face, but it's not the end of the world. And certainly worth it. So, out a bit. Oh, okay, what happened here, huh? What in what happened here? Why is there suddenly just... Huh? How'd this happen? Bro? Somehow, I managed to make a duplicate and pull this down. I'm sorry. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna try and fix this the best I can. Okay, so... GZ... And then I need to rotate this. Why? Yeah, it's a whole bunch of stuff got messed up here. In fact, I'm not even convinced that this is the right way around. Okay, now I need to... put that back the way it was. Cheeky goddamn software, huh? Push this back out a bit further. Now, Shadow, why you always have to hurt me with your claws? Put him on the bed of punishment, Foxy. Maybe because I want to see how he reacts. Okay, now that I've fixed that up... Okay, what in the actual fuck? How did I manage this? Okay. 3D cursor. Grab the entire linked object. Okay, now everything should be in the correct position. I hope. I guess I must have delayed the wrong set. Unfortunate. She wasn't even bothered by it. She got up there and literally started kneading. I think that's how you spell it. No, it's kneading as in, like, dough kneading. Like, K-N-E-E-D-I-N-G, I think it's spelled. Or it might be, K-N-E-A-D-I-N-G, but... Listen, I'm not an English major. You think any reasonable English major would want to do streaming? There's only been one I know of. Okay, yeah, I definitely picked the wrong set here. So if I 180, so that should be in the correct position now. Now I'm going to apply rotation. You know what I meant? Yeah. I guess that's the most important part, huh? Actually, wouldn't have these just been... Yeah, okay. You know what? Never mind. What's important is that it's built up now. Oh my god. I fucked up again, I think. Why are you like this? You could be any other way, and you choose to be a dick. Alright, let's work on this just a bit more. No, we're just going to do this. You're not hiding any other funky little secrets, are you? No? Good. Cheeky bitch. Anyway. Now. Just going to scale this Z. And the individual origins, well, the medium point rather. So we're gonna have an observatory window here. E, Alt S. There you go. And we're also gonna just do some funny stuff here. So scale that into Z so it slopes in slightly. And then same with the top actually. I'm gonna, do I want to drag the observatory platform down? Because like most of it's actually just made up of metal on the outside, but it looks quite thin now that I look at it correctly. So I'm gonna set that downwards a bit. Actually, I'm looking at this, right? And you know what this vaguely reminds me of? Hang on, I'm just gonna pull this up. Where is it? Sorry, it took me a second to type this out because I don't normally type this out at all. You know what this vaguely reminds me of? And I know it's literally just because of the color of this tower. It's literally just a tall cylindrical version of Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated. And I've been having that playing in my head for like the past 20 minutes. Oh, yes. Grab this. I can also just scale this into Z as well. Probably not as much though, because it still needs to be visible. Now, those are no longer applicable to the joke. Yeah, because like you look at the inside of the tower and it's literally just a grated, like metal grating. They do exterior walks of this thing too, like you go up the spire. So that's a thing you can do if you don't value your life at all. Let's put that back. Now the external, this is actually slanted inwards. So I'll just Alt-S that. I call it the Towerinator. Why can I hear that in his voice? What have you done, Foxy? Are you proud of yourself? You probably are, to be honest. Not that I can blame you. Okay, so we got that going now. this here actually has an additional extrusion at the top. So I'm probably going to... Do I want to keep that or do I want to ignore it? I think maybe I'm just going to ignore this one. Of course you would find that funny. For some reason the shrink and fatten only goes up and down this section. It's probably because it's the top and not the, like, the sides. If I, say, click on this specifically, it would probably work slightly better. Actually, come to think of it, I kind of like that design slightly more. And probably do that. And then... Okay, maybe I actually want to decrease the amount of geometry on this specific pole. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to... okay, do I delete this? Probably, yeah. Or actually, maybe I can get away with doing a merge down on this. Because this is going to be considerably smaller than the rest of the object. So it's probably going to be like about... Probably less than that. Probably like... that much? Yeah, that seems correct. So now what I want to do is I just want to merge this down. Ah, okay, so this is not working. So what I can do, I'm pretty sure I can just inset this. Yeah. So inset that and then grabbing these, I can just actually Alt S. It doesn't want to do that. Really? Come on now. Delete those. Oh wait, I accidentally deleted the bottom of the tower. Whoopsies. It do be like that sometimes though. What if I just... Okay, no, that only affects the scale of the top. That's annoying. And yet somehow when I request this thing to do what I ask of it, it just goes up and down. Like, bro? Get a grip? Okay, I'm just going to merge by distance. There we go. So fan is a perfectly acceptable way of doing that. And now I want to merge this down. If it will... Okay, there we go. So the way to merge this down is probably via... Okay, how many have we got here? That'll give me a better idea. So 6 spaces, so I can merge this down in 3s. So I'll just grab this, slide it down. So it's like right at the bottom. And then... Oh, why is this not moving downwards? Strange. Okay, so I want to grab these two, grab them down. And then I can just eliminate this entire section here. And then using this, I can fill these in. And now I've got something considerably thinner, although I do have to question what has happened here. Actually, no, I need to extrude this out. Whoopsies, that's a my bad. That's a my bad for not paying attention. So now, if I grab this, I can actually just scale this in a bit more. Actually, is that... Okay, that might be too low poly now that I think about it. Like, I do want this to be low poly, but I don't want it to be that low poly. So, is there a way to merge this down by a single amount, maybe? Okay, I'm just gonna quickly search up merge down. Okay, model topology merge down. Here we go. So, in order to do probably 4 to 2 would be my best ratio. For anyone curious as to what the fuck it is I'm talking about, it's this. This is merge down topology. So you take however many original faces you have and you merge them downwards into however many you need. So in this case I have 6, which is a little bit problematic. So I just need to figure out a way to merge them down into probably, I want to say 4 per side. Because merging these down, like, here just gives me 2. Like, 2 per side, which would give me 8 in total. I think probably what I want is 12 in total. And, like, probably the easiest way to do this would be to, like, just create a separate object, but that's not the way that I'm doing this. So, okay, what options do I have? I have 4 to 2. I have 3 to 1, but is there a 3 to 2 option? There is a 2 to 1 option, maybe? Maybe that would be in my best interest. I'll give 2 to 1 a try. So I wish there was an option where you could rotate images in Google Images. Like, why isn't that a thing? Of all the things Google has, they don't have the ability to flip images. Like, bro? Why is that not a thing? Actually, if I open up Pinterest, there might be somewhere that has a flipped around version of this. Okay, no, it's gone. Of course it is. Okay, so I'm gonna do the other option, which is set this to general guides. I'm going to pull this up in my Windows images, and I'm just going to flip it around like that, because that's probably the only way I can do this. So, general guides, pull that up. Now, I believe, isn't there a option where I can rotate this? Don't tell me fucking Windows removed that option. Because if it did, I'm going to be really upset. Scan text, no. I'm sorry, it gives me the option to resize and shit and edit with Designer, or should I say Copilot? Oh wait, here it is. Found it, chat, don't worry. Okay, so 1 to 2 is... This looks like a shear. And it probably is a shear, to be honest. So, grab that down. So then... Those are like that. So I want to cut across these. So if I subdiv those should give me what I need. And then join those together. And that gives me that. I can Control X that. So that gives me... I need to... Before I subdiv that, I'm gonna... Oh. I'm I'm gonna add a wood cut there just to make my life just a smidge easier. So then... Actually, I can just do this. Why am I not doing... Oh, that's why I don't do that. So, subdiv that. Join, join. Now, I should be able to just... Control X these. Yeah, and then that decreases the scale of the pole drastically without putting the actual quality into peril. Although these here also need to be joined together. And voila, we've merged these down into something a little bit more manageable. And Control X. Merge by distance. I'm actually just going to increase this slightly, just make sure. Because the slight increase for the merge distance doesn't really matter at these scales. So I'm just going to shrink that down. Actually, it's probably a little bit too much. Probably about that much. Now, it does look probably a little bit janky. Why does it look that janky? Probably because I need to move these down quite a fair bit. Because, like, in the actual... Like, if you're looking at this from the considerable distance that you would be in normal gameplay, like, you're not going to notice that. For the sake of this, I'm just going to move that down. And now it just looks like it's a... No, it just looks like a fucking mess is what it looks like. So maybe I want to actually scale this in the other direction. Yeah, like, in that direction, you really don't notice it. Yeah, because, like, you're not noticing it at that distance. Oh, I flipped it upside down. Sorry, chat. And now... Something strange is going on with this. Why is that? It is not behaving the way that I'd expect it to. No matter. Oh, is it because of... It's smooth by angle, but it's not... It's not appreciating the angle, so to speak. So I'll just move that down. And then this I can just scale. Oh, actually, is it Alt-S for this one? Okay, that looks a little bit better. So, the idea is obviously, like, the character would climb up this, and then there might be, like, a rope or something. Or you could just climb the pole directly, which would be the most likely option. Now, details. The first thing that immediately comes to mind is giving, obviously, a little bit more in terms of texturing. So I'm gonna add some temp textures to this, just to make my life slightly easier. So for the base of this object, I'm going to give this the concrete texture, because that's the only one that truly makes sense here. In fact, I'm actually going to make a duplicate of this, and I'm going to name this Grey Concrete Tower. So now I can just edit this as I please. Now, I want this to probably be UV'd, I want to say. Okay, UVs, it looks okay, but it doesn't like it a whole lot, I guess. So, actually, is this thing even... Yeah, it's clipped properly. Why is this... This doesn't need to be pinned. Why is it pinned? No wonder I was having weird-ass issues with the shading. The smooth by angle was pinned the entire time. Like, it looks slightly better now that I've done that. Actually, does... If I put this above... Yeah, it does nothing, basically, here. Now, I want the color of this to be paler. Same with this one. In fact, I'm gonna make a copy of this one. Control V and then scale that up a bit. Just to give this slightly better look. So that is all I need to worry about for this section here. Now this section is all stretched out, but that's fine. I can certainly deal with that. Now, why isn't this showing? Oh, right, because it's not the front, duh. Now, this lot here... In fact, I'm actually just going to start from the top here, because that makes the most sense. I'm going to give this an entirely different texture. So I'm going to make 2 texture slots here. We're going to assign this to the second slot. Now, this slot here, I'm actually going to assign to slot 3. And that's just going to be the glass texture. Now, for this set here, so for slot 2, I want this to be a white tile. So, oh, wait, I need to look at the textures here. So, I want to say checkered would technically work, but it doesn't in this case, really. I think maybe brick? Brick seems to make the most sense here. So I'm gonna control T on this. I'm actually gonna set this to object. Okay, the object is too stretched out. Maybe I have to... I'm gonna say I'm probably gonna have to UV unwrap this at some point. So I'm gonna apply the scale. So, yeah, that doesn't get affected at all. But now if I grab this, I'm going to say probably around all these sections here. I can't really do anything in terms of a full UV unwrap, unfortunately, because of the whole mirrored thing. Because with the mirror, I can't do a seam down the side like I normally would. But that's probably as good as I'm going to get. Actually, I'm going to try generated again now that I've done that. Okay, the brick texture doesn't quite work in this case. UV doesn't work. What about normals? Okay, normals definitely doesn't work. So yeah, I'm probably going to have to mark seams. Okay, in fact, I'm just going to outright mark seams now. So, all of these are seams. So, that's also a seam. I'm going to mark this as a seam as well, but this is not going to be as important. So, mark seams. I'm gonna A and U unwrap. Okay, so now if I plug this into UV, this should work. Yeah, a lot better than did before. Alright, now. Actually, this one here does not need to be seamed. That doesn't need to be seamed. That seam actually works fairly well, so I'm going to keep it. Yeah, the rest of these are fine. I guess it's just that one seam that just didn't need to be there. Unwrap. Hang on, I thought I got rid of that. I'm sorry. Clear seam. Okay, yeah, that works a lot better. Actually, it was the underside that I got rid of the seam on. Okay, so... come to think of it, this needs to be metal, but I'm just gonna deal with these tiles for now. So... the tiles are fairly small. Is there a way to... okay, yeah. It's frequency. So I need to set the squash to probably be like half the size. And then... what does frequency do in this case? Okay, cool. Well, that was easy. I didn't think that making tiles was going to be this easy. Now I just need to change the scaling of the mortar. So... 0.00... sorry. 0.001. Because the mortar size between these is actually quite small. Okay, maybe 0.005? Because, like, you're going to be looking at this from a distance, right? And, like, you can't normally see the tiles from that distance. But, yeah, like, close up, I suppose that makes sense. I might actually set this to halfway in between, though. Yeah, that works. Now, I'm going to set this to be white and just slightly paler white. So, obviously, I want there to be some distinction between the two. Why is, like, this entire building just white? And, like, it's so dirty close up, too. Like, you look at this image, and it is not a flattering image whatsoever. Like, It is definitely not the most flattering image of the Sky Tower. This one's probably slightly better. But, yeah, okay, I'm gonna set the thing here to be metallic. It's like the most intensive object when it comes to textures thus far. In fact, I'm just gonna control plus on this one. I'm also gonna grab these because reasonably it's expected that these ones here are gonna be metal as well. So, another slot, a sign, and I'm pretty sure there's metal already. This is a darker metal, so probably, like, dark grey metal. The problem is, like, this would be grating. So I don't know if I want to create a separate texture and go through the trouble of trying to make this a metal grating type situation. Otherwise, I can probably just metal wall. It's probably too much. What about grey metal beam? Okay, so this could be a decent start. I'm just thinking because, like, looking at the tower itself, like, there's actually no flooring here. Like, it's all grating. But it's not going to work in this design because especially if I want to eventually have this as a quote-unquote surprise boss arena, I definitely don't want it to be just metal grating. What other options do I have? Metal cage probably doesn't work here. Basketball cage definitely doesn't work. Metal wall probably wouldn't. At least not the orange one. Let's try black metal maybe? No, that's not gonna work. Okay, I'm gonna probably pick up the metal beam, but I'm just gonna make a copy of this. Grey metal tower. And I probably want to have like a separate texture for this maybe, so like maybe not noise. What options do I have in terms of... Oh, Shift A. Texture... Okay, this is gonna be a weird shout. What if I just threw a brick texture on here? I can map this to UVs. I'm not too concerned about that. But what if I made this, like, really small? Okay, actually, what I can base this off of... Metal Flash. I'm just gonna have a look at metal platforms and see if there's like a design that I perhaps prefer for this. So we do have these. Oh, actually, I do have a single idea. So I think that the texture that does this... There is a texture that creates holes. I want to say that's magic texture, but I don't know that for a fact. Okay, yeah, this. So if I scale this down, it kind of looks like metal grating, doesn't it? Like, very vaguely. Like, if I set the texture for this to be this grating texture, I can actually set it on the bottom too. But I set the walls to be a separate metal color, I could get away with doing this. So, roughness... Why is the roughness all the way like that? Okay, anyway. So if I set the roughness to, say, 0.45... But the problem is I need to have this alphaed as well, I think. If I don't have this alphaed, I probably need to, like, set the roughness up. So I want this to be... I'm trying to remember. Shift D that. And I want this to be like a really dark black. No, I probably want this to be pure white. So if I set this up to roughness and set this to color. Now if I... Okay, there we go. So, yeah, that will do that. Now, I want it to be constant, I believe. Okay, so that definitely switches it. But I want these to be... Okay, this needs to be flipped. This definitely needs to be flipped. So the metal should absolutely be reflected now. Now I just need to set this to be a more matte color. So yeah, that should theoretically work. I probably want the distortion on this. Okay. The distortion on that does not work as well as I thought. So I'm going to say probably like 1.5. So, like, does that not look a bit like metal grating? So if I scale this, I probably want it to be like, I want to say 120. So that's gonna go like that, and it just goes all the way across. So it's consistent at least. That's one of the qualifying factors. Now, if I grab the outside of this, I can set this to be metal. I'm gonna say probably black metal, and assign this. So you can actually see the grading from the underside of the tower too. And the same here with this slot. Because I don't want the grading to be up on the glass, because that just makes no sense whatsoever. Okay, so like I'm developing something here. Somewhat of a coherent structure, I hope. Alright, so slot 4. I definitely need to... What if I set the depth down just a smidge? Okay, so messing around the depth definitely... Yeah, the more I set the depth, the weirder it looks. So I'm going to say probably a depth of 3 should be sufficient. I probably want the scale to be... probably the other direction. So when I do this, I need this to be... Whatever I pick, it has to end in 8 from the looks of it. Just to make the texture continuous. Which is a really specific value to have to set up, but that's whatever. Except for 87, apparently. Huh? Actually, it sets it up there, but doesn't set it up... I'm sorry? 86, maybe? Oh, it might be because of the depth setting, actually, that I've done this. Yeah, it might be because of the depth. If I set this to, say, 2, I should be able to just fix this up. Yeah, if you set it to 2, it's fine. So I'm going to set the scale of this to be... 45 is far too large. Maybe... 64? That just leaves a really weird looking seam. I'm just trying to examine both sides at the same time to see if I can get away with... Okay, there's like some certain values that do work and some that don't. 68.2 should be fine. The underside looks correct. In fact, I'm half by wondering if the underside should be messed about with too. I'm gonna try... Would I prefer this if it was scaled inwards? Just like scale that in. What does the profile look like? If I slide that in like that and look from the side. Okay, like the profile looks a bit cleaner doing that. Like it just looks, for want of a better term, smoother. So if I... Okay, so... Also, I just realized that my phone and my computer clocks are both desynced. How did that happen? Alright, I definitely need to work on the tile a bit more for whatever reason. Actually, I know why this is. It's because it's mirrored. If this wasn't mirrored, this would definitely be a different story. Okay, so now for these ones, I am actually going to set probably some metal brackets, I think, for the bottom parts would make the most sense. I know the actual building has glass on the bottom one, but that doesn't really work out in this case, I don't think. Because, like, if I were to do that, I would have to take into consideration the indentation of, where is it? These ones here. Which I could probably do if I tried hard enough. In fact, why am I even half-assing this in the first place? Okay. Grab that. 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 Control B. Okay, vertex is not going to work. Is there a way to... I'm just looking. You. Not to seam. I could have sworn there was a way to bevel on the edges as well. But I suppose it doesn't really want to work in this case. So I have no... Like, I'm probably just not going to get away with doing that. Not unless I only inset these sections here. Just, like, very barely inset them and just make sure that they stay in the middle. I could probably get away with that, actually. The problem is I have to, bevel... Like, I have to... Sorry, not bevel. Inset these. Individually. Otherwise, it's just not going to work out. I'm going to say... point. Well, actually, I'm just going to say 1. And then same with this side. Inset and 1. Now, it should theoretically work out. Scale along the Z, just to take that into account, and then extrude that inwards. And Alt S. 0.5 in the negative, and it should be fine, yeah. And I can just, glass this one. And that does actually break up the profile a bit better. Ooh, I also need to make sure that I grab all of these. Can't forget these windows. And assign that. And then we go, voila, we have ourselves a very interesting looking tower for sure. I'm definitely going to have to work on the colouring of this because this is not exactly the way one would expect this to look. Also, do I want to... Okay, these thin structures on here, I'm not sure what they're made of, actually. Because one would think that concrete would make sense, but if it's going to be holding up that structure like that, they would be more likely to be metal, wouldn't they? Like, am I wrong for thinking that that would be more likely to be metal than concrete? I'll probably have to do something about it some other time. So, just going to... Okay, that's not too bad. It looks probably slightly better from the safe house. I'm just gonna lock that there. Yeah, like, this thing is absolutely massive compared to the rest of the map. Like, yeah... Hang on, can I... What's the shortcut for this? It's like shift tilde, right? Yeah. And then... Tab for gravity? Yeah. So, like, you're looking at this thing, like, this thing towers over the rest of the map. But, to be fair, I think I prefer it that way, because this would be... Like, if you were playing the game, this would be, like, where you fight the boss. This would be, like, where the major operation takes place. And quite frankly, I think I just prefer that. Alright, neat. So, oh, how do I manage that? So, I think... Yeah, I'm probably going to end off stream. So, I'll just Control S to save a incremental, and boink. Alright, so that's pretty decent. Like, I had a bit of trouble with getting the pillars on the tower to work properly, but I think I've got it now. So, that's always great. Twitch side, do I have anyone for you to go and pay a friendly visit to? I do not, unfortunately, so I'll just call it here. Yeah, probably going to be working on the tower again tomorrow, when I have a better idea of what the hell it is I'm doing. I was originally going to metal plate it, but then I looked at the actual tower and realized this thing was made of concrete, so I'm undecided of what I'm going to do yet. I think metal might work better, but we'll see. Anyway, I shall see y'all in the next stream.